Okay, I'm pleased to invite Cantor Cohen to lead our Shabbat Shira, Drash in Song.
Okay. It's going to be a little different today. So I'll invite our singers to come join me up here. This is what we call a sermon in song. Really? Today's portion marks exactly halfway through the Torah. We saw in that scroll, that special pattern that the Torah has for the Song of the Sea, which is a visual marker in the sea of Hebrew columns that helps us find our place. If you're wondering how we find where to chant, this is one of the easiest Torah portions to find. So just as we have this visual cue, I thought I would take you on a little musical journey that'll help ground us in this particular time in the Jewish calendar and in our world today. I'm going to frame this journey through Franz Rosenzweig's three-part model of creation, revelation, and redemption. So there's 3 songs. And if you want to know more information about the music, you can find it in your Shabbat Shira programs, not the ones with the announcements, but the ones with all the information about composers, poets, etc. Part 1, creation. The Torah begins back in Breshit with, "In the beginning, God created the universe. The chaos of the world was brought into order. Light separated from dark, earth from sky, land from water. Humanity was created in the form of Adam and Eve, our common ancestors. Then, as we read way back in October, and God blessed the 7th day and declared it holy, having ceased from all the work of creation that God had done. Thus Shabbat was created, a day of rest, a day we keep every week in order to contemplate our place in the world, to take us out of the mode of doing and into the mode of being. And in this way, I believe we can learn from the trees, whose birthday, Tu B'Shvat, we'll celebrate in just a few days. For starters, the Torah itself, as we mentioned last night, is called the Tree of Life, Eitz Chaim, which we just chanted. So what's our relationship with the trees, the plants, and nature that surrounds us? This past year, I've been reading some really awesome books about trees and our relationship to nature, and I've been waiting all year to share some of these ideas with you. Okay. Robin Wall Kimmerer is a self-described mother scientist, decorated professor, and enrolled member of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation. In her eye-opening 2013 book, Braiding Sweetgrass, she uses indigenous knowledge as well as her experience in the scientific world to show that humans can live in harmony with the world. She explains that in native ways of knowing, human people are often referred to as the younger brothers of creation. We say that humans have the least experience with how to live and thus the most to learn. We must look to our teachers among the other species for guidance. Their wisdom is apparent in the way that they live. They teach us by example. They've been on the earth far longer than we have and have had time to figure things out. Our celebration of Tu B'Shvat is one such opportunity to learn, not just from trees, but from all of the natural world. In the creation story of Genesis, humans are created last out of all the plants and animals of the earth. And immediately after our creation, we are told, God created Shabbat as a day to rest and take it all in. We chant this part of the creation story every Friday night as part of our Friday night Kiddush, and it is reiterated in the prayer Vishamru that is part of both Friday night and Saturday morning services. This Vishamru prayer reminds us that the day of rest goes back to the very beginning of the earth. This Shabbat, let's take this invitation to sit back and contemplate the natural world around us. 20th century Israeli composer Aminadav Aloni captures the wonder of creation told in Genesis with this setting of our Vishamru prayer. Veshamru bnei Yisrael, Veshamru et ha-Shabbat, Lasot et ha-Shabbat, ledorot ha-Midotam. Veshamru bnei Yisrael, Veshamru et ha-Shabbat, Lasot et ha-Shabbat, ledorot ha-Midotam. Ve'ni u've'nei Yisrael, Od olam, ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz, uvayom hashvi'i, uvayom hashvi'i, Shabbat vayinavash. Veshamru bnei Yisrael, Veshamru et ha-Shabbat, Lasot et ha-Shabbat, ledorotam. Part 2, Revelation. We moved from Genesis to Exodus back in January, transitioning from the creation of the world to the foundation of the Jewish people. Today I chanted the climax of the Exodus story, Shirat Hayam, and next week we will read of the Israelites receiving Torah at Sinai. In addition to reading the Exodus story in our weekly Torah portions, this age-old tale is one that we retell every year at the Passover Seder. Not only is it the foundational story of our Jewish people, but we are commanded to teach it to our children. The passing down of this story and our Jewish traditions from generation to generation is what has kept us alive and thriving up to this day. And it is this value of teaching through storytelling that we reiterate in the Ve'ahavta prayer every day. Veshinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam. You shall impress upon your children and teach them these things. So, through the lens of learning from the world, what are some of the teachings that are revealed to us from nature? Obviously, this is a topic of lifelong learning, but this morning I want to tell you about one particular phenomenon, something called the Wood Wide Web. Let's start with the findings of Dr. Suzanne Simard, a professor of forest ecology at UBC. Growing up among the forests of British Columbia, Dr. Simard has spent her life researching the interconnectedness and complexity of nature. She is known for her work on how trees interact and communicate using below-ground fungal networks. If you haven't heard of her, you can check out the Mother Tree Project online. Essentially, her work proves that nature works not just through competition, as was generally accepted as the scientific understanding for decades, but through cooperation. Up until today, the principles of competition, not cooperation, have guided our policies regarding clear cutting, the process of cutting down forests and replacing them with cheaper, quick-growing trees for logging. Dr. Simard's meticulous research shows that tree roots don't thrive when they grow alone. She compared the clear-cut fields where only one species of tree was allowed to grow with the biodiversity found in nature. Her findings showed that trees in the forest needed that biodiversity in order to survive, and that they were connected and cooperating. Moreover, she explains, the sharing of energy and resources meant the trees and plants were working together like an intelligent system, perceptive and responsive. But how do trees talk to each other? The answer, mycelium, the long, stringy body of fungi that live underground. Specifically, this is where it gets technical, the mycelium of mycorrhizal fungi, which is a type of fungus that connects plants to each other through their root system. They connect trees and plants to each other underground in what can be thought of as the Wood Wide Web. According to Dr. Simard, instead of computers linked by wires or radio waves, these trees were connected by mycorrhizal fungi. The forest functions like a system of centers and satellites where the old trees are the biggest communication hubs and the smaller ones, the less busy nodes, with messages transmitting back and forth through the fungal links. British biologist Dr. Merlin Sheldrake builds on Dr. Simard's findings, explaining that the relationships between plants and mycorrhizal fungi are key to understanding how ecosystems work. A variety of substances, from nutrients to signaling compounds, can pass between plants via fungal connections. In simple terms, he says, plants are socially networked by fungi. This is what is meant by the Wood Wide Web. Just as Dr. Simard proved that trees pass information to their offspring in the vast network of the Wood Wide Web, so too our tree of life commands us to teach Torah to our children, passing down its wisdom from generation to generation. We are in a continual process of revelation, learning how to incorporate the latest research into our understanding of the world. The Jewish value of teaching our children reminds us that we have a responsibility to always continue learning. Bloch's setting of the Ve'ahavta prayer takes us from the majesty of creation to the indictment to teach our children the ongoing stories of our revelation. Et Adonai Elohecha bechol levacha ubechol nafshecha ubechol meodecha ve'ahavta et Adonai והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך Part 3, Redemption. When Dr. Kimmerer asked her university class to rate their understanding of the negative interactions between humans and the environment, they all said confidently that humans and nature are a bad mix. She then asked them to rate their knowledge of positive interactions between people and the land. Their response, none. Here's her response as described in the opening pages of Braiding Sweetgrass. I was stunned. How is it possible that in 20 years of education, they cannot think of any beneficial relationships between people and the environment? Perhaps the negative examples they see every day, brownfields, factory farms, suburban sprawl, truncated their ability to see some good between humans and the earth. As the land becomes impoverished, so too does the scope of their vision. When we talked about this after class, I realized that they could not even imagine what beneficial relations between their species and others might look like. How can we begin to move toward ecological and cultural sustainability if we cannot even imagine what the path feels like? Maybe you too believe that humans and nature should not mix. Despite our tendency to believe that climate change and the human destruction of the environment is a lost cause, there is reason to hope. Dr. Simard, for example, is convinced that we have the power to shift course. It's our disconnectedness and lost understanding about the amazing capacities of nature that's driving a lot of our despair. She believes that if we can just understand that nature is not just alive, but has a sentient quality, our empathy and love for trees, plants, and forests will naturally deepen and find innovative solutions. Turning to the intelligence of nature itself, she says, is the key. Tu B'Shvat reminds us that nature is not just here for the taking, and that in the end, we do not benefit from removing ourselves from the world. It's not humanity versus nature, because everything is connected. Two things that have impressed me the most from the writings of Kimmerer, Simard, and Sheldrake are these. One is the beauty and the poetry with which they see the world. And the second is the passion and determination with which these scientists convey their findings. They want us to understand what they have discovered and this knowledge that many indigenous and older traditions have known for centuries. They want us to listen to their recommendations for what we can do better and to see ourselves as part and parcel of the natural world. They implore us to understand that the trees and fungi are not just alive, but sentient beings that communicate and have within them the answers to creating a world where we can all thrive and be free. Redemption is possible. But as long as we harden our hearts to the world, we'll continue to destroy the wonders of creation and fail in our mission to take care of the earth. Once we listen to the knowledge of nature itself and put it into practice, we can restore our inherent connection to the world. Mary Oliver describes this sense of hope in her poem, When I Am Among the Trees. When I am among the trees, especially the willows and the honey locust, equally the beech, the oaks, and the pines, they give us such hints of gladness. I would almost say that they save me, and daily. I am so distant from the hope of myself, in which I have goodness and discernment, and never hurry through the world, but walk slowly and bow often. Around me the trees stir in their leaves and call out, "Stay a while." The light flows from their branches and they call again. It's simple, they say. And you too have come into the world to do this, to go easy, to be filled with light and to shine. Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer.
To see, to sense, to breathe, to know.
you.